I think free wood is the name of the game. This episode is taking way too long. Be okay with free or cheap tree service wood. You have to be able to accept anything. We all should know what a chip truck looks like, okay? Both those loads were $20. You cannot beat that. Finding where that chainsaw is running. Then you build the rapport with them afterwards, and that's how I had just a butt ton of wood. I gave him a few bucks, and he was off his way. His trailer was empty for the next job. Free wood, consistently delivered, folks. You cannot beat that. Simply cannot. Even if they ask for a few bucks, it's worth it. It's still worth it. And welcome back, Fire Addicts, to another episode of Travis Does Firewood. And today I want to share with you how to get free wood. So I think with a lot of you doing firewood, either you produce your own firewood to burn in your own property, and or you produce firewood to sell. Either that's your full-time job or side hustle, whatever it is. And to do that, you need logs, you need rounds. So one of the ways you do that is you can buy a log truck full of logs. Get that placed in your yard, bucket up per length what do you want to split, and there you have it. Either you have your own chainsaw splitter, you have a processor, whatever it is, and that's great because then so you have the logs and you know the quality is there in theory, and you cut the size, etc. One thing with that is those log trucks, they're not free, they're not cheap, they're expensive, and that eats into your profit, or you're buying that and then you burn in your own home, which I think a lot of us out there, a lot of us watching this episode here, a lot of you all don't want to spend that money. You want to get the wood cheap, you want to get it for free if possible, as long as the wood is at a quality point that it's still going to be worth burning in your own stove, or selling to people so you're not selling garbage, because you don't want to sell garbage. If you sell garbage, that's fine, but just tell the people that, hey, this is crappy wood. It's at a price point to sell at crappy wood, but it's not great wood. So I'm going to get into how I get free wood consistently and or really cheap wood consistently. In doing so, I want to start with the story. So I got a ping from a local arborist, and he had 2 loads of wood coming in, and I'm like, I don't have the room, I don't have the space, but let's make room. Let's make a space for it. It should be okay. I'm on my neighbor's property right now, and because I still maintain that if you have an arborist or tree service company and you want them to give you wood consistently, always say yes. But one time you say no, then you're no longer on their radar, and then you probably will not get wood from them. I have not tested this yet because I keep on saying yes, which is why in the past, a few minutes ago, I just had a bunch of wood in my yard, and I still do. Now I have time, a little bit more time, and I'm going through it. Anyway, I digress. My story, these 2 loads, these logs, and these rounds here came from the same arborist. Now, this arborist, my son is in daycare, and this other parent, would drive in to get his daughter, who's in the same class as my son, or same grade level. And this truck looked like a tree care truck. Chainsaws in the back, kind of beat up. No judgment on the truck and no judgment on this tree guy. He's a solid guy, a good friend, a good person. But the truck looks like a tree service truck. Not a chip truck. It's just like a bigger truck, diesel, all banged up. Does not need to be pretty. It's not pretty. And so I'm like, that he just screamed, and he has this massive dump trailer, huge dump trailer, and people who have massive dump trailers like that usually are the ones who are doing roofing or tree service. So one day we were both looking at our kids, and I'm like, hey, do you by chance do tree service wood? He said yes, and then he mentions that he watches my channel, which is awesome. I think I told the story on my channel before. I'll tell it again. So since then, I have referred him to jobs where he's taking down trees for my neighbors, as well as he has dropped wood in my yard. Okay, so I guess the moral of the story is the connection to tree service and or arborists come at random times. You don't know when they're going to happen, but they do happen. So I'll get into what that wood is there maybe a little later. That's special wood. And for those of you who have asked and show pictures of that wood, I'll get into that a little later. But this here is another load of Douglas fir. I can get Douglas fir all day long, as well as probably cedar or cottonwood. So, but this stuff here, I believe he bucked up at 16 for me. He dropped it off, and I'm like, hey man, I'm like, I only have $15. Is that okay? He's like, sure, I'll take it. So the agreement is like these loads are probably gonna be about $20 a load. This is the gas money in their pocket, some lunch money, maybe some beer money, whatever. Just enough incentive for them to drop it off, to go from their job site to drop it off. Okay, so that's the thing, is these tree service companies, right? They get paid based on the amount of work that they do, not an hourly rate. It's per job. So some of their customers, they don't want the wood on their premise after the tree has been cut down, after it's been bucked up. They want to pay the tree service, the arborist, money to take away the wood. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but then the tree service people have to figure out where to put the wood, where to dump it, where to get rid of it, because if it's sitting in their chip truck, in their trailer, in their with their equipment, then it can't be used. It's not empty. They can't use it again. So they want to offload it. But a lot of times I see in marketplace and on Craigslist is these arborists and tree service companies, they want to charge like $100, $125, $150 for a load of rounds or logs. Well, that's all fine and dandy. I'm not going to pay $150 for a trailer or truckload of logs. That's just I'm not gonna do that. If someone else wants to do that, hey, that's on them. But I'm not gonna do that, because I'm here. I make firewood to make money, and if paying more for logs or rounds, it eats into my profit margins, and that should be obvious. That's economics. That's math, right? So if you can get logs or rounds for free, sometimes they're free. A lot of times, just a few bucks, $20, and a little bit of that wood will pay for that $20, and the rest of it, that's free. That's all fair game. So that's a story, a random story of how I connected with the local tree service guy, and now I'm his go-to in the area. That wood there came from the Douglas fir. That came from the next county from me, in King County, south of me, a long ways. But he had nowhere to dump it down there, so he drove it all the way up here to my place, dumped it. I gave him a few bucks, and he was off his way. His trailer was empty for the next job. So it's easy for him. It's done. Rock and roll done. So let's get into how to make these connections. Well, the first one I can think of is chip drop. Chip drop, I have been on my channel before. It's a great connection of people who want chips and or logs for free or really cheap. So they connect you with an arborist or tree service company in your area. Now, it may not work everywhere in North America. I think they're in Canada too. What you do is you make an account, you have a request. It can't be very specific, but you can want chips or logs, and then you put it and you put out where you want them dropped, and then you say yes to it, and then it goes out in the universe. So then in the future, a tree service company will go on their account and say who's in my area when they're on a job, who's in my area to accept rounds or logs or chips. So then they find you in your area and say, hey, oh, they want wood, awesome. And then they say yes to it, and then automatically sends you an email and or a text saying, hey, you're going to be receiving a chip drop, a delivery within the next 48 hours. And you're like, oh, no. So you're like, oh, that's great, that's awesome. Well, but you better be ready for that. Your spot better be empty. You better be home. If not, then they're going to drop it, and it is what it is. So what I have done is I have set up in my ask some tarps out front and say, hey, I want it in my driveway here. There's tarps at this location. Please put them out on the gravel and then dump there. And that has worked for the most part. And I have received chip wrap orders, and then what I do is in my ask, I have said, I'll tip you $20. If it's hardwood, I'll tip you more. And the first tip is automatic if you opt for it. This service for people receiving the chips and the wood is free, but you can tip. And in my opinion, I opt for the automatically $20 tip that is deducted from my credit card when I receive a delivery, because I want the incentive to them to come to me and not someplace else. And I think that has worked out in my favor in the future. So they come to your place and they drop off a load, tip or no tip, whatever else. You talk to them, build that rapport. Okay. So first option is chip drop, and then second option is you build the relationship. You extend that rapport. Okay. So you do is you're nice to them, say hi to them. After they drop off the load of logs or rounds in your yard, give them your business card and say, hey, if you're in my area the next time, keep me on your radar. Let me know. I will gladly pay you another $20 to come to me. Or even, I'll pay you even more money. I'll pay you $40, maybe $60. If you, on the job site, buck up these rounds at 16, I'll pay a little extra. That saves me time and wear and tear on my equipment and my back. If you do it on site and then load and then drop with me, that's worth my time. Just an idea. So, build the rapport after chip drop is dropped once. Then you build the rapport with them afterwards, and that's how, in previous episodes, in previous months, I had just a butt ton of wood here, and I had a bunch of wood here that I'm trying to work on now that was loaded because a guy, he was working in my area, and he kept on texting me saying, hey, do you want more wood? Do you want more wood? And I'm like, yeah, you cannot say no to free or extremely cheap wood. Both those loads, that load there, that was dead standing, I think it's mostly maple and or this is Douglas fir, both those loads were $20. You cannot beat that. And it was delivered to my home. Delivered, folks. You cannot beat that. You simply cannot. Period. Bar none. Period. Done. So build a rapport. So let's get into scenario maybe number 3. You're asking me, how do I find arborists? How do I find tree service? Well, you can do a simple Google search. A lot of these times, these companies don't have websites because they can afford it, they don't want to hassle with it, etc. But they probably have a Facebook page. Okay, so maybe find them on Facebook too, and send them a message. Either text them, they have an email them. Me, I don't like phone calls. I don't like having to talk to someone vocally, so I default to email or text or even messaging. Okay, that's one way. Say to them saying, in your own little words, hi, I'm so-and-so, I live in X city on the south side or west side, whatever. I'm looking for firewood logs or rounds. If you're in my area, please let me know. Happy to pay, either get a dollar amount or gas money, but which would probably be no more than $20 to $40, right? Depending on the truck, you can notice you get that later. But just know that, but I would say that you're willing to pay something. I think that's worth the time to make sure that they know that you are serious to get wood from them. So that's one way. One way to go about it is finding them. Another way is you are driving. You're driving around and you see a chip truck. We all should know what a chip truck looks like, okay? They're big and boxy, and a lot of times they have the company's name and the company's logo on them, and maybe even a phone number. Well, if you're at a stoplight, take a picture. Take a picture with your phone, or if you have a passenger or kids in the back, give them your phone and have them take a picture of them as you're driving so you're not distracted, whatever. Afterwards, then research them and contact them. Reach out again, like I said before. That's one way. Because a lot of times you're driving, and I've seen trucks before, and I've literally taken pictures of them on my phone, and then when I go home to my office, then I was able to research them and reach out. Another example, and this may be a tad creepy, I'm not quite sure, but you're driving along, you're parking, and you see a chip truck or a chipper or a Another company that says like landscaping or tree service or arborist on the logo on their equipment, and they're parked. There's no people there. Well, there's no harm in leaving your business card on the windshield or a note on the windshield saying, "Hey, I'm so and so again." That's another way too. I don't think that's not too bad of an idea to be able to reach out and find them. Okay. Now you could reach out to your neighbors or your local firewood friends. Say, hey, like where do you get your logs or your rounds? And they could share their resources. They may not because they want to hoard their connections for themselves. I mean, I would do the same, right? I'm just saying that we do help our own when it comes to firewood. So that's another option there to ask. When you make the connections, make it so it's as easy and reliable as possible on their end. Make sure the spot to unload or dump is open, available. There's no power lines. They're not going to hit another car or a house. Make it as easy as possible. So then they will, again, want to come back to you and drop. If the peanut butter on their end, by any means, they're probably they may be prone not to come back again. Be able to accept ugly rounds or pieces. You can't be picky when it comes to free or cheap tree service wood. Period. If it's ugly and stuff, burn it in your own home or label it as crappy firewood. It is what I mean. Is what it is. Maybe you get one stick, one log of good, maybe one stick of bad. But you cannot be picky on the type of a species and the quality of the wood. You just can't. You just can't. I mean, I'm sure probably you can ask, but they rarely are going to abide by that. As well as here, I have gotten massive rounds. Usually they're Douglas fir rounds, and they're just like 3 feet diameter, massive. And I have struggled to get through them. But again, if you're going to request and be okay with free or cheap tree service wood, you have to be able to accept anything. It just comes with the territory. And be opportunistic as well. If you see a tree service company and they're down the road, either they're for like the power lines or after storms or winter removals, or they're clearing lines for utility stuff, don't be embarrassed or shy to approach them. That's how I got all this fruit wood. This lady up the road has some trees, the fruit trees near the power lines, and the local utility company hired a tree service company to come out and prune and cut back the trees. And so I saw that at the bus stop. I walked up there, and the owner was like, "Yeah, that's fine, take it." So after they were done, I came up every day for a week. I loaded my truck, and I got all this free fruit wood. We got apple, we got plum, and cherry in here. But all free to me. But all it was is me approaching the tree service company when I saw them. I think too another way perhaps is, and I know I'm not alone here, is when you're outside or maybe in your home, you may hear a chainsaw in the distance. Now, chainsaw has a very unique sound to it. Does not sound like a lawnmower. Does not sound like a leaf blower. You know it's a chainsaw when it's running. Now, you could be as forward as following the sound, getting in your truck if it's not too close by, or going for a walk down your road, finding where that chainsaw is running. It could be a tree service company. If it's not, it could be another homeowner, and they're doing some more firewood themselves. Well, if it is an arborist doing work, flag them with one of their groundies, give them your card. Maybe they'll give you wood that time or time in the future. If it's your neighbor doing firewood, build rapport with a local firewood enthusiast who's near you. Maybe share stories and ideas, etc. But it's always good to follow the sound of a chainsaw. Maybe another example is you have made connection with a tree service company and or arborist. If you inquire about load and they can't deliver, but they say, "Hey, if I have a job in your town or next town over, if you bring your trailer and leave it or you stay with it, we will load it for you and then you have it." Well, that could be an option. Okay, so keep that in the back of your head, as well as if you inquire about a Craigslist post or marketplace post or offer, whatever, and it says free wood, act on it. If you inquire about it and you say, "Yes, I'm going to get it," act on it and do it. Get that wood, because if not, and it will not be there the next hour. It will not be there the next day. So if it's free wood on an ad, act on it right away and get that wood. And remember, key phrases to know and to use when talking to an arborist about free wood. I'm flexible on species and size. Use that in your communication. Also, no rush. Whatever works for you and your crew. Don't rush them, and be available and be flexible, okay? Make it as easy and painless for them as possible so they want to dump and dump again and again and again in your wood yard. One more phrase to learn and use: I'll take the stuff that most people will not, okay? Maybe they're understanding and say, no, you don't want this load. It's all poplar, it's all cottonwood. Or no, you don't want this wood. It's all rotten, or it's all punky, whatever. And that's great. A lot of people will be honest with you. A lot of people, they won't, and they'll drop off garbage. And that sucks. And you paid them $20, and you literally have to figure out how to cut it up and dump it yourself. I've been burned on that note too, myself. We all have. It sucks. Stupid. People who are not trustworthy. It's not cool, okay? So be aware of that. There are dishonest people on the other end, okay? You're not a garbage site yourself. You want enough quality wood that you can at least burn in your own home and maybe even sell. But again, I have documented on my channel how to sell crappy wood. It is doable, but the way to do it while being ethical. Anyway, and again, key point: don't ask for specific species on your first contact. Be open, okay? And then as you build a rapport, then say, hey, if you have any oak, let me know. I'll pay a little bit extra for it, for example. Also, never complain about dirt, about knots, about bark, or odd cuts. Is what it is. Folks, you're requesting free or cheap wood that you could in turn keep your house warm for like half the year, or make money on, okay? Because you don't want to spend money on logs, okay? So there has to be a balance here. Okay, you can't be picky. You can't be picky. Always follow up with a thank you. Well, a thank you. I'm not saying a thank you card in the mail. Thank you text. You know, just say thank you for the load. I appreciate that, and maybe even a photo afterhand. One guy was en route, and I said, "What can I offer you for the load?" He said a Danish. It's on my channel. I literally bought him a Danish. I went up to the store, bought him a Danish, and that paid for the load of wood that he dropped. He was actually without words. He didn't know he didn't know what to say because he was kidding on his end. But I went extra mile for him, and I got him a Danish, and that paid for the load of firewood. So say thank you. Be grateful for the free and or cheap wood that will drop. So there are tree service companies that will take the wood back to their own lot, and they will in turn like sell it for slab wood or lumber, or they'll process it and make firewood too. But there are tree service companies that don't do that. They don't want to mess with it. It's just another headache on their end. They want to get rid of it, right? Because they want to have their equipment be empty and ready and available for the next job site, right? So what if tree service companies don't want to sell the wood? They want to save time. And if you save them time, the wood will come. Okay? Be available, save them time, and the wood will come. Even if they ask for a few bucks, it's worth it. It's still worth it. So that's my 2 cents on how to get free wood. I think it just takes a little bit more effort, but I want to know from you all, what did I miss? What tactics have you used if you have found, researched, connected with local tree service companies and local arborists? I want to know, because let's spread the wealth here. Let's share the knowledge of how to get free and or cheap wood. Okay, I think a lot of it, that's the name of the game. There may be a handful of you who are like, I don't want to mess with tree service wood. It's knotty, it's gnarly. There's spikes in it. There's metal in it. I don't want to mess with any of that. I buy logs, and I'm content with that. I'm happy with that. And that's great. Good for you. But I would say that you are in the minority for people who are hobbyists. If you're a full-time firewood salesperson, or that's your main business, for sure, take in those logs, process making firewood, and sell it. You don't have time to mess with these gnarly rounds. I get it. That makes sense to me. But for a lot of us who can't spend six figures on a processor and or up to 20 grand for a log splitter, logs aren't in the budget. This is not in the budget. And I know I'm not in the minority there. Sorry, I thought I heard a chainsaw. So thoughts, comments, opinions. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did you learn anything? Did I teach you anything new that you did not think about before? I think approaching a chip truck in a parking lot or taking a picture of them as you're driving, do it safe, it makes sense to me to make those connections. I think after I get this wood processed, I think I need to re-up I need to re-up my chip drop account again to get more free wood. I think free wood is the name of the game. This episode has taken way too long, and a lot of you probably have not watched it at this point. If you have made it to this point, please leave a comment that you watched. Maybe like a half an hour episode of me blabbling you. Thank you. I do appreciate it. I do. Truly. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And remember, life's too short to be a prick, so be kind to one another. Rock and roll. Stay safe. Keep cutting. Cheers. Yeah, there's a chainsaw in the distance. It's off right now. It was on. It's across the valley. You see, you never know when you're going to hear a chainsaw. Freaking awesome. Where was I? I digress. I was getting at... Sorry. Side note, I don't know the difference, okay? I don't know the difference between tree service and arborist. Maybe the same thing. I don't know. If you don't know, leave a note down in the comments.